This is Total Retail Tech Insights.
The content retail executives need to optimize their use of technology throughout their organizations.
I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail. I'm joined by Mike Hughes, the CEO of Exchange Solutions. Mike and I are at the CRMC show here in Chicago, and we're going to talk to Mike a little bit about Exchange Solutions. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe.
So to get us started, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about Exchange Solutions and the solutions that you offer retailers?
Yeah, will do. So Exchange Solutions offers loyalty solutions to retailers. We're focused on everyday retail. And what's different about us is we have loyalty solutions, but we also have personalized offers, capabilities that we layer on top of our loyalty solutions, and we're truly omni-channel engagement with those consumers.
So we're going to talk about kind of that personalization piece as well, but I want to talk about the consumer first before we talk about the personalized offers and that kind of layering in, as you mentioned, on top of the loyalty program. From your perspective and from your clients' perspectives, how have you seen or how have they seen consumers' behavior shift in the last year plus, and what has that meant for their loyalty programs and their personalization programs?
Yeah, I mean, as we saw with all the lockdowns last year at this time, everything shifted to online, and we work with Lowe's, we work with ExxonMobil in Canada, we work with Rexall as a pharmacy, Sobeys, and those businesses that were deemed essential, which are pharmacies. It was gas stayed open. People weren't driving as much, but Exxon's they were still open. Convenience stores were open. And then grocery stores as well. They were all open, and so those stores saw their volumes actually pick up in store. Grocery, in fact, you saw kind of a shift where people started ordering online and picking up curbside. So you saw that dynamic happening because people weren't comfortable going into the stores. But Lowe's and some of the other retailers that we work with, there was a big shift to online, and those businesses were deemed in Canada and in the U.S. They were deemed non-essential, so the stores closed. Lowe's was closed, and then their online business went up exponentially, and we saw that happening over and over and over. And so I think that's a trend that's here, and it's here to stay. People even now, here we are, a year and a half later after the pandemic first hit in March of last year, and people still are a little uncomfortable, and they're still ordering online. I mean, I actually just did it. Not that I was uncomfortable, but I like the convenience.
Yeah.
I had to buy a bunch of stuff from Lowe's. Went online. It was all ready. Went in. I already paid for it, and took it out to my car. So that kind of order online, pick up in store. Or just order online, that shift to online, and you have mobile, you have all these different modalities of interaction with consumers, and the Amazon effect is, you see that people want what they want, and they want it now, and they want it convenient. They want a convenient way to buy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. To what you were just mentioning is that you saw a lot of first-time online customers as well, but for that trend to continue, that convenient, a positive experience. So as retailers were quickly forced to roll out these programs in order to really keep the lights on with launching curbside and pick up if their stores were closed. The experience needed to be a positive one for the customer, or they wouldn't come back. So that's kind of leads into the next question in terms of personalization and how that affects the customer experience. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing at Exchange Solutions to help the companies that work with you personalize their customers' experiences, and how that can kind of dovetail with their loyalty programs as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last year with the pandemic, we'd heard from some of the industry analysts that they had all these new customers and they didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, all these customers showed up online. They had no idea who they were, trying to track them through cookies, and which we'll talk about later. And they had no idea who they are. And so, getting consumers to identify themselves through a loyalty program, is very, very important, because then no matter what interaction, where you are on a mobile app, you're online, they're in the store as a consumer, you know who they are if they have that loyalty card. And then what we do is we take all that data, and they opt in. It's first party data, and our retailers say, hey, look, do you want offers, compelling offers that'll be tailored to you, personalized to you? If so, as part of your registration process, we collect all the data, and then we give it to the retailers, and then we target individual consumers and understanding each individual consumer's behaviors, how are they buying, and then targeting offers to them, personalized offers to them in real time on a mobile app, at the POS in the store or online if they're shopping online. And that's very different from what other companies are doing. I mean, I heard, I was at a conference recently, and I heard one of the marketing executives talk about mass personalization. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is not personalization. Personalization is understanding your buying patterns, Joe. I mean, maybe you show up once a month, where I show up maybe once every 2 months. And so the retailer, knowing that, wants to encourage you to show up multiple times a month and get me to show up once a month. And so understanding each individual consumer's propensities, what are their buying behaviors, and then targeting offers in real time, to get them to kind of fill behavior gaps that the retailer wants to fill.
Yeah, that's that sounds like an oxymoron to me, mass personalization.
No, I know, it's segmentation. It's funny, but
so, and to your point, these customers are opting in with the expectation that they're going to get a relevant offer, relevant experience in return for giving that data. So it's not an insignificant ask for the consumer. Rather, it's not an insignificant ask to give up their data, but in return, they're expecting those experiences that you talked about, that personalized experience, whether it be an offer or be an experience.
Yeah, and there's a level of trust there too. You join a loyalty program and you opt in. There's a level of trust that you trust that retailer, and to do the right thing with that data. Not go and sell it but use it, for your for your benefit. Yeah. And we have a concept since the founding of our company over 20 years ago. We're actually 25 years old as of October of this year, and we have this concept, and it's the core IP underpinning all of our solutions. It's called value exchange optimization. And what that is doing exactly what I just described, where you find that balance where there's an offer that the retailer will be comfortable giving to a consumer, right? So it's not going to erode their profit margins in such a way that it's an unprofitable transaction.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's compelling enough for the consumer to say, hey, this is something that, that's a transaction I'm comfortable acting on. I'm comfortable making that purchase because I see value in doing that. And that's that exchange of value. That's that optimized value exchange between the retailer and the consumer, and that's what we're all about. Yeah,
and building that lifetime value too, getting them back to repeat purchase rate.
Accelerating, so building a higher lifetime value and accelerating that journey.
Yeah.
And you can't do that unless you have all the data and you're acting on it in real time.
Exactly. You alluded to earlier that opting into this, and they're opting in, and that's that first party data, which is going to become even more critical as we move to a cookieless marketing environment. So talk a little bit about how the collection of first party data is going to help retailers differentiate themselves going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, earlier in the year, Google had announced that by the end of the year they were going to get rid of cookies, and then it was pushed out for a couple of years. That's, I think, companies like us, loyalty providers, and where we're asking, our retailers, our customers, other retailers, and they're asking their consumers to opt in, and there's not that creep factor of you go on a website and you're checking your email later on and a golf club is showing up. Yeah. It's like, come on, how is this happening? And so I think that people's ownership of their data is becoming more and more important, and they just don't want all the big tech companies using it kind of for their own purposes. And yeah, you could say, oh, okay, we're trying to make offers to you sort of on these websites and get you to act on something that you were interested in. But if you didn't make the purchase, it's just the anonymous collection of data, which is not truly first party data, is I think to most people offensive, and I think first-party data that's collected as part of a loyalty program. Having people opt in and having them own the privacy of their data is very important.
And I'm curious for your thoughts. I think that more consumers are better educated about this topic now than they may have been 3-5 years ago, and the use of their data. I don't know your thoughts, but to me that seems like a trend that consumers are more aware of how their data is being used than they may have been several years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that came about because of malfeasance, right?
Yep.
Because of what happened. Not only are they seeing it, personally, seeing the tracking across all your devices and across all these different websites that you're visiting, but what has made it into the papers, how some of the big tech companies, we all know who they are, use data inappropriately and sold that data and used it for political purposes and other purposes for their own gain. I think people, it was an eye-opening experience for them, and so they're much more cognizant of hey, look, and you see like GDPR has come out in Europe, and they have standards in Canada as well, and California, and so this is the trend. It's the trend away from anonymous collection of data. Just because you're a member of a free social media website doesn't mean that company can take all your information and do whatever they want with it. And there's going to be a shift to having the consumers have control, via first-party data, sign-ups, authorization to use that data, and that's going to be good for loyalty providers and retailers because people are going to want to do that, and they're willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to give up certain amount of privacy about my spending habits in order to get good deals.
Right. Yeah. To get the experiences and the offers that you want
with retailers that I like and trust.
Right. Exactly.
And that's why I would join a loyalty program of,
if you trusted the brand, to your point, that overall trust.
And I shop there often. So.
Yeah. You mentioned this will be good for loyalty providers, companies like Exchange Solutions. Tell us a little bit. We're here at CRMC. There's obviously a lot of talk about where we're going, trends, looking ahead to the future as well. What are the areas of opportunity within the loyalty space that you think are most critical at this point? And how can companies like yours at Exchange Solutions help companies, brands, retailers capitalize on those opportunities?
I think the use of data for personalized offers is not, we're doing it, and we're doing it actively. We do it in an automated way, and using machine learning and the proprietary algorithms that we have. We have a big data analysis team. Our solution is SaaS based. It's in the cloud. All the data security is there. So data security, table stakes. Personalization is not a nice to have. It's table stakes. It's a must have. And I think omni-channel reach to consumers. I talked about it earlier. Consumers are very demanding. We all are. I am, and you are. We all are very demanding. We want what we want, and we want it now, and we want it in the most convenient way, either shipped to our house or pick up outside. And so I think kind of with loyalty, I think it's omni-channel use of data, the privacy, protection of those points, protection of those assets, and then you start thinking about moving away from transaction. This is something that we focus on. It's not transactional, but more more experiential and incenting on non-financial behaviors.
Yeah, not just transactional based.
Yeah. So one of our clients is Rexall. They launched the Be Well program in Canada last year on May 1st, and in that instance, being about health and wellness, it's integration to it's on our roadmap is integration to like Fitbit and some of the health apps. If you're working out, it's not a transaction where they're getting financial benefit, but it's something that they would want to put your money behind your statement that we're all about health and wellness, and so kind of integrating non-financial behaviors into the loyalty program is trend. Also, Amazon Prime, right? There's so many members of that, and so paying an annual fee of $100 or whatever it is to get premium access to a loyalty program. So that's paid loyalty.
Yeah, premium and paid is obviously
premium and paid is a trend that's you see more and more retailers are implementing those.
So
and that's not going to work for everybody, but
right for certain brands it
has
does
to be compelling,
and it has to the consumer, your customer, has to value whatever it is you're offering, whether it be free shipping, experiences, or whatnot. Just one more follow up on that omnichannel piece. As you mentioned, consumers are engaging through many different channels, oftentimes in the same purchase experience. You gave a couple of examples in terms of curbside and buy online, pick up in store, but just going back and forth between a website and going in store or an app. Talk about kind of the sharing of data and integrating that data, and how you're using that to create a holistic view of the single customer, and then personalizing offers. It's even more challenging considering that there all these channels that they're interacting in.
Yeah, one of our core competencies is integration with all the systems, and that's a core competency that we have literally decades of experience accumulating data, integrating to systems, accumulating data, and doing decisioning on that data, and presenting offers back, and so the data collection, omni-channel data collection of every single interaction point is absolutely critical, because if all is what they're doing online, you can't make offers in the store. And so when we set up a loyalty program, that's what we do. We do all the data point integrations, integrate to all their systems. We get their cost data, so we understand what's a margin aware offer, where you have room to make an offer that's still profitable.
Right.
So we're collecting all that data, and you have to be able to do that. And I've heard in the market there's been some frustration by companies that are running loyalty programs that they don't have access to all the data.
Yeah.
In that one example that I said earlier, where I said it was mass personalization, I talked to that head of loyalty, and they're not running Exchange Solutions, they're running somebody else.
Yeah.
And I said, when do you think you'll get to one-to-one, truly one-to-one personalization? He said, probably a year and a half. So why aren't you there now? And he said, the data collection, we just can't get it. And so,
particularly
particularly
when they go into store, I guess it was at their top challenge when they're not.
They're not so much online, this particular retailer, but and that's on the retailer, but it's also on the loyalty vendor to help them to do that. And so we often help. We do a lot of work on the integration and understanding what are all the different sources of data, what data do we need in order to action personalized offers, and make sure that we're collecting all that data.
So lastly, for the audience, if they want to know more about Exchange Solutions, any resources or just kind of where would you send them? And
go to our website, exchangedSolutions.com. You go out there, you see the leadership team, and then if you go to the resources section of our website, you'll see webinars that I've done and others have done in the company. You'll see white papers. We have the Gartner loyalty report is out there. You can see that, and we're prominently displayed in that as a pure play technology loyalty vendor. Very proud of that, and and that's it. And you can contact us. There's a reference to the marketing email address there, and please contact us.
Great. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank Mike Hughes, the CEO of Exchange Solutions, for joining us today here at CRMC. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Tech Insights is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Tech Insights.